The glass shattered first. Then came the gunfire. Amara Williams pressed her back against the cold marble wall of the panic room, her breath coming in sharp gasps as bullets ricocheted off steel somewhere in the mansion above them. Kang Yujin stood beside her, his white shirt stained with blood that wasn't his, a gun steady in his hand, his jaw set like carved stone. This wasn't supposed to happen. She was supposed to be in and out in 20 minutes. Repo some furniture, dodge security, get paid. But when that mansion door had slammed shut behind her, when the lights went out, when she heard footsteps echoing in the dark, she realized she wasn't collecting a debt. She was paying one. And the price might be her life. 12 hours earlier, Amara had been standing in her cramped studio apartment in the cheapest part of Seoul, phone pressed to her ear, listening to her boss Derek Morrison's gravelly voice cut through the static. The apartment was a study in survival. A mattress on the floor. A hot plate balanced on a plastic crate. Ramen cups stacked like a tower of shame beside the sink. The only decoration was a framed photograph on the windowsill. Her younger brother Marcus, and their parents at her high school graduation. Everyone was smiling. That was 5 years and a lifetime ago. Derek's voice crackled with false warmth. Amara, sweetheart, I've got one last job for you. High value. Easy in, easy out. You do this, we knock $5,000 off your principal. She closed her eyes. $5,000. It wouldn't even dent the mountain of debt she owed him, but it was something. Anything. What's the job? Luxury estate in Gangnam. Owners in foreclosure. We need you to photograph the assets, maybe grab a few portable items. Artwork, electronics, jewelry. The usual. Amara's stomach twisted. The usual meant walking into someone's life and stripping it bare. She hated this work. Hated Derek. Hated herself for needing him. When? Tonight. 6 to 8 p.m. Place should be empty. Owner travels for business. Derek's tone shifted, became almost paternal. Listen, kiddo, I know you've been struggling. This could be your ticket out. Do this right and maybe we renegotiate your terms. Maybe we get you free. Free. The word hung in the air like a prayer. Amara looked at the photograph again. Marcus was in his second year of med school now, brilliant and hungry for a future their parents had died before seeing. She was working 3 jobs to keep him there. The debt to Derek's predatory lending company had started at $15,000 3 years ago. With interest compounding monthly at 15%, she now owed $32,000. Every payment went to interest. The principal never moved. Fine, she said. Send me the address. That's my girl. I'll text you the security code. And Amara? Don't disappoint me. You know how much I hate being disappointed. The line went dead. Amara sat on the edge of her mattress and let her head drop into her hands. Her phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. Hey sis, still coming to my presentation next week? I'm nervous, lol. Love you. She typed back quickly. Wouldn't miss it. Love you too. Then she stood, pulled on her black jacket and work boots and grabbed her camera bag. Time to go steal from someone else's crumbling life to prop up her own. The mansion in Gangnam was a fortress of glass and steel perched on a hillside overlooking the glittering sprawl of Seoul. Amara's taxi dropped her 3 blocks away. She walked the rest, hood up, head down, just another invisible worker in a city that ran on the labor of people like her. The gate was 10 feet of wrought iron and digital locks. She punched in the code Derek had sent. The gate clicked open with a soft hydraulic hiss. The driveway curved through manicured gardens lit by subtle ground lights. Motion sensors tracked her movement. Cameras swiveled. She kept her face angled down, away from the lenses. At the front door she hesitated. This didn't feel like a foreclosure. The landscaping was too perfect. The lights were on inside. She could see them through the tall windows, warm and golden. She tried the code on the door panel. It beeped green. The lock disengaged. Amara pushed the door open and stepped into a world that didn't belong to her. The foyer was 3 stories tall, dominated by a spiral staircase with glass railings, and a chandelier that looked like frozen rain. Everything was white marble and brushed steel and art that probably cost more than she'd earn in 10 lifetimes. The air smelled like expensive cologne and old money. She pulled out her camera and started working. Living room first. A white leather sectional that could seat 12. A coffee table made of a single slab of black granite. Shelves lined with books in Korean, English, and languages she didn't recognize. She photographed everything methodically, her hands steady despite the wrongness gnawing at her gut. Then she saw the painting. It hung above the fireplace, massive and haunting. A woman in a wedding dress, her face obscured by a veil, standing alone in a field of dead flowers. Something about it made Amara's chest ache. She took the photo and moved on. She was in the study when she heard it. The low rumble of an engine in the driveway. Car doors slamming. She froze, camera halfway to her face. Someone was home. Derek had said the place would be empty. Derek had lied. Amara's pulse spiked. She shoved the camera into her bag and looked for an exit. The study had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the back gardens, but they didn't open. One door led back to the foyer. The other led deeper into the house. She heard voices now, low and male, coming from the front entrance. She ran for the second door. It opened into a hallway lined with more art. She sprinted down it, trying doors as she went. Locked. 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 Behind her, footsteps echoed on marble. A voice called out in Korean, sharp and commanding. She didn't speak the language, but she understood the tone. Who's there? She found a service door near what looked like the kitchen and slipped through. A narrow staircase led down. She took it, her boots barely making sound on the concrete steps. At the bottom was a storage area. Shelves stacked with linens, old furniture draped in sheets, boxes labeled in Korean. She ducked behind a rack of winter coats and pressed her hand over her mouth to muffle her breathing. Above her, the footsteps grew louder. Multiple people now, spreading through the house. A voice barked orders. Lights flickered on in the basement. Amara's heart hammered against her ribs. She heard a television in the distance. A news broadcast. Korean words she couldn't parse. Then, cutting through the chaos, a calm female voice from a speaker system. Storm warning. Typhoon Minjae approaching Seoul metropolitan area. Residents advised to seek shelter. Estimated landfall in 2 hours. The lights in the mansion dimmed for a moment, then stabilized. Someone cursed upstairs. More footsteps, faster now, purposeful. Then a mechanical sound. Heavy and final. The front door, she realized. They were locking down the mansion for the storm. Emergency protocols. She'd read about this in wealthy estates. Automated systems that sealed everything when severe weather approached. She was trapped. Amara stayed behind the coats for what felt like hours but was probably 20 minutes. The voices upstairs faded. Footsteps moved away toward other parts of the mansion. She risked a glance around the edge of the rack. The basement was empty. Low emergency lighting cast everything in a sickly yellow glow. She crept toward the stairs, testing each step before putting her weight on it. At the top, she pressed her ear to the door. Silence. She turned the handle slowly. It opened into the hallway she'd run through before. Still empty. She stepped out, staying close to the wall. A sound behind her made her spin around. A man stood at the end of the hallway. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a black suit soaked through with rain. His hair was wet and pushed back from a face that could have been carved from ice. Dark eyes, sharp jaw, an expression of cold, absolute fury. Kang Yoo-jin. Amara had never seen him in person, but she recognized him from the business magazines Marcus sometimes left lying around. Korea's youngest self-made trillionaire. Tech mogul. Defense contractor. The man who'd built an empire on artificial intelligence and paranoia. The Ice King, they called him. He stared at her like she was something that had crawled out of the drain. When he spoke, his English was perfect, his accent barely there, his voice like frost on glass. Who the hell are you, and why are you in my house? Amara's mouth went dry. She raised her hands slowly, palms out. I can explain. I doubt that. He took a step closer. Water dripped from his suit onto the marble. Security, he called over his shoulder. No one answered. His eyes narrowed. The storm knocked out the main system. Backup still booting. Which means you picked the perfect time to break in. Convenient. I didn't break in. I had a code. I was told this was a foreclosure. I was hired to. To what? Rob me. His voice dropped lower, more dangerous. Do you have any idea what I do to thieves? I'm not a thief. I'm a debt collector. My boss sent me here. He said the estate was in foreclosure. He gave me the access code. I swear I didn't know anyone was home. Eugen pulled his phone from his pocket, glanced at the screen and cursed under his breath. No signal. Perfect. He looked back at her. What's your name? Amara. Amara Williams. American. Yes. Who's your boss? Derek Morrison. He runs a lending company. Morrison Financial Solutions. Something flickered across Eugen's face. Recognition? Disgust? He moved closer and Amara's back hit the wall. He was close enough now that she could see the water beating on his collar, smell the rain and something else. Anger. Tightly controlled and coiled like a spring. There is no foreclosure, he said quietly. This house is mine. Paid in full. Has been for 8 years. Someone lied to you. The words hit her like a slap. What? You're not a debt collector. You're a pawn. Someone sent you here to cover their own tracks. The question is, what were they really after? Before she could answer, the lights went out. Total darkness. The backup generators hummed, and a moment later, dim emergency lights flickered on. The mansion's automated voice returned, calm and detached. Primary power failure. Emergency protocols engaged. All exterior doors sealed. Estimated restoration time unknown. Eugen cursed again. He grabbed Amara's arm, his grip like iron. Come with me. Wait, You're not a thief. Fine. But you're also not leaving. Not until I figure out what game is being played here. He pulled her down the hallway toward the study. And if you try to run, I will assume you're a spy and treat you accordingly. In the study, Eugen shoved her into a leather chair and pulled a length of zip ties from a drawer. Amara's eyes went wide. You're kidding. Do I look like I'm kidding? He zip-tied her wrists to the armrests with swift, practiced movements. Not tight enough to hurt, but enough to hold. Then he stepped back and studied her like a problem to solve. Amara forced herself to meet his gaze. I told you the truth. Derek Morrison sent me here. I didn't know this was your house. I didn't know anyone would be home. Derek Morrison, Eugen repeated. He moved to his desk, opened a laptop and started typing. The screen cast his face in pale blue light. Predatory lender. Targets immigrants and low-income workers. 15% monthly interest. Loans designed to never be repaid. He's been on my radar for years. Slippery bastard. You know him. I know of him. I've been trying to shut him down since he put a single mother into bankruptcy last year. She worked for one of my subsidiaries. Eugen's fingers flew across the keyboard. He's smart. Always just legal enough to avoid prosecution. Almost. Amara's stomach twisted. He told me if I did this job, he'd reduce my debt. Eugen looked up. How much do you owe him? 32,000. Started at 15. His jaw tightened. How long? 3 years. Jesus. He leaned back against the desk. Let me guess. Every payment goes to interest. Principal never moves. She nodded, hating the burn in her throat. I took the loan to cover my brother's living expenses. He's in med school. Full scholarship, but Seoul is expensive. Eugen was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, You're here because someone wanted a scapegoat. Morrison didn't send you to repo furniture. He sent you to be found. Why? Because someone needed a distraction. A witness. A body. He turned back to the laptop. I'm running a diagnostic on my security system. Someone wiped the footage from tonight. Professionally. That takes skill and access. Access to what? To my network. To my life. His fingers stilled on the keyboard. His face went pale. No. What? He spun the laptop around. On the screen was security footage from earlier that day. Grainy, time-stamped. It showed a man entering the mansion through the front door. He wore a suit, carried a briefcase, walked with the ease of someone who belonged. The timestamp read 2:47 p.m. Who is that? Amara asked. My head of security. Director Choi. Eugen's voice was flat. He's supposed to be in Busan today. Meeting with a contractor. Maybe he came back early. Maybe. Eugen pulled the laptop back, typed something else. His face went rigid. No. No, no, no. He grabbed his phone, tried the signal again. Still nothing. Then he walked to the window and looked out at the rain sheeting down in torrents. Lightning split the sky. Thunder shook the glass. What's wrong? Amara demanded. Eugen turned to face her. For the first time, she saw something other than cold fury in his eyes. She saw fear. Choi's dead. What? I just accessed the exterior cameras. The backup footage. He held up his phone, showed her a grainy image. A body floating face down in the infinity pool outside. Even through the rain and the pixelated quality, she could see the dark stain spreading through the water. Amara's breath caught. Oh my God. Eugen pocketed the phone. Someone killed him. In my house. Today. And now you're here, conveniently locked in with me during a storm that knocked out all communication. Tell me, Amara Williams, do you believe in coincidences? I didn't kill anyone. I know. He moved to her chair and cut the zip ties with a pocket knife. If you were the killer, you wouldn't have run when I came home. You would have stayed hidden or ambushed me. You're not a threat. You're a witness. Which means someone else is. Amara rubbed her wrists, her mind reeling. Who would want to kill your head of security? Someone who needed him out of the way. Eugen's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen and his expression went black. Backup battery. 1 bar of service. He opened a text message. The sender was listed as James Hahn. The message read, Sorry, brother. The board votes tomorrow. You were always too soft. Enjoy your last night as king. Eugen stared at the screen for a long moment. Then he threw the phone across the room. It shattered against the wall. Amara flinched. Eugen didn't move. He stood there, chest rising and falling, hands clenched into fists. Who's James Hahn? Amara asked quietly. My CEO. My best friend since college. My brother in everything but blood. Eugen's voice was hollow. And apparently my executioner. He walked to the window and pressed his forehead against the glass. Outside, the storm raged. The city was a blur of rain and darkness. Amara stood slowly, her legs shaky. She wanted to run. Every instinct screamed at her to find a way out, to get as far from this nightmare as possible. But the mansion was sealed. The storm was a wall. And somewhere in this house a man was dead. What did he mean the board votes tomorrow? She asked. Eugen didn't turn around. There's been talk of a hostile takeover. A faction on my board thinks I'm too aggressive, too reckless. They want me out. James has been the loudest voice defending me. Or so I thought. He laughed, a bitter sound. He's been playing both sides. Selling me out while smiling to my face. Why would he kill Director Choi? Because Choi was loyal to me. Because Choi knew things. Secrets. Passwords. Access codes. Eugen finally turned to face her. James has been selling my technology. My AI defense systems. To competitors. Maybe to foreign governments. Choi must have found out. And now he's dead. And now I'm framed. Eugen gestured to the storm. By morning, when the police can finally get here, They'll find me with a dead body and a convenient witness who mysteriously disappeared. Your boss made sure of that. He sent you here to die. The words landed like a punch. Amara's knees went weak. No. Derek wouldn't. Wouldn't he? Eugen crossed to his desk, opened a drawer and pulled out a handgun. Amara's heart stopped. He checked the magazine, chambered around and met her eyes. Men like Morrison sell people every day. You're collateral damage. Expendable. You're going to kill me? What? No. He looked genuinely surprised. I'm going to protect you. If James sent people to clean up this mess, they'll come for both of us. And I'm not dying tonight. Amara's vision swam. The room tilted. She grabbed the edge of the desk to steady herself. I need to call my brother. He'll be worried. If Derek called him. Derek has your brother's number? He's my emergency contact. On the loan paperwork. Eugen's face went grim. Then your brother is leverage. If you disappear, Morrison can use him to tie up loose ends. Threaten him into silence. Or worse. Amara's chest tightened. Marcus. Sweet, brilliant Marcus, who thought his sister was just working hard to give him a future. Who had no idea she was drowning. I have to warn him. You can't. Not until we have proof. Not until we have leverage of our own. Eugen handed her a second gun from the drawer. She stared at it like it was a snake. Do you know how to use this? No. Safety's here. Point. Squeeze. Don't pull. And only if someone is actively trying to kill you. He paused. Which tonight is a real possibility. Amara took the gun with shaking hands. It was heavier than she expected. Cold. Final. This is insane. Welcome to my life. Eugen moved to the door, listened for a moment, then looked back at her. Choi kept backup files of everything. Security logs. Financial records. If James has been selling my tech, the proof is in those files. They're stored in a hidden server room in the basement. The basement where I was hiding? Yes. But we need to move fast. If James sent people, they'll be here soon. He opened the door. Stay close. Stay quiet. And if I tell you to run, you run. Understood. Amara nodded, her throat too tight to speak. She followed him into the hallway, the gun a foreign weight in her hand. The mansion was a maze of shadows and emergency lights. Every corner felt like a trap. Every sound made her flinch. They reached the kitchen, a gleaming expanse of marble and steel. Eugen moved to a panel on the wall, entered a code, and a section of the floor slid back, revealing a staircase leading down. Service entrance to the basement. Fewer cameras. They descended into darkness. Eugen pulled a small flashlight from his pocket and swept the beam ahead. The basement was flooded. An inch of water covered the floor, cold and black. The storm must have overwhelmed the drainage. Amara's boots squelched with every step. The server room is at the east end, Eugen whispered. Behind the wine cellar. They waded through the water, the flashlight beam their only guide. Amara's heart was a drum in her ears. The basement smelled like wet concrete and something else. Decay. Death. She tried not to think about the body in the pool. They reached the wine cellar. Eugen moved to a specific rack, pulled a bottle, and a hidden door clicked open. Behind it was a small room lined with servers and monitors. The screens were dark. Eugen sat at a terminal and started typing. His fingers flew across the keyboard. How long will this take? Amara asked. Minutes. Maybe less. Choi's files are encrypted, but I have the master key. He glanced at her. You okay? No. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. The screen flickered to life. Rows of data scrolled past. Eugen's eyes scanned them, his expression darkening. There. Financial transfers. Offshore accounts. Communication logs between James and... He stopped. Jesus Christ. What? He turned the monitor toward her. On the screen was an email chain. The sender James Hahn. The recipient. Derek Morrison. The subject line: collateral management. Amara's stomach dropped. She leaned closer, reading. The emails detailed payments. $500,000 transferred to Morrison Financial Solutions in exchange for delivering the witness to the site and ensuring permanent silence. Another email outlined Amara's schedule, her brother's address, her debts. Everything. He sold me, Amara whispered. Derek sold me to James. Not just sold. He was paid to make sure you died here. Eugen's voice was ice. James needed a scapegoat. Someone to tie the murder to. Someone no one would miss. Morrison delivered you. Amara's knees buckled. She caught herself on the desk, bile rising in her throat. Marcus. If they think I'm dead, they'll go after Marcus. To keep him quiet. Not if we stop them first. Eugen pulled a flash drive from a drawer and started copying files. We get this to the authorities. We expose James and Morrison. We end this. The server room door slammed shut. Both of them spun around. The lock engaged with a heavy clunk. Then the lights went out. Eugen's flashlight was the only illumination. He swung it toward the door. A voice crackled over an intercom speaker in the corner. Hello, Eugen. James Hahn's voice was smooth, almost friendly. I see you found my little surprise. And you brought the girl. How convenient. Eugen's jaw clenched. James. You coward. Face me. I will. When you're dead. James laughed. Did you really think I'd leave evidence lying around? Those files are bait. The moment you accessed them, you triggered a remote wipe. Everything you just copied? Gone. Eugen looked at the flash drive. The small LED light that had been blinking was now dark. He crushed it in his fist. You won't get away with this. I already have. By morning, the police will find you and your unfortunate guest dead in a tragic home invasion. Director Choi tried to stop the intruders, but alas, he was killed. You and the girl were caught in the crossfire. So sad. So wasteful. There are backups. Other files. People who know. Not anymore. I've been very thorough, brother. Every ally you had is now mine. Every secret you kept I own. The board votes in 6 hours. By then you'll be a ghost. Amara found her voice. What about me? You're just going to kill me to cover your tracks. You were dead the moment Morrison sent you here, sweetheart. Nothing personal. Just business. The intercom clicked off. Eugen tried the door. Locked. He shot the lock. The bullet ricocheted off reinforced steel. He cursed and turned to Amara. Emergency exit. Behind the server rack. They shoved the rack aside. Behind it was a narrow crawl space. Eugen kicked the grate off and gestured for Amara to go first. She dropped into the space, landing in ankle-deep water. Eugen followed, pulling the grate shut behind them. The crawl space was a concrete tunnel barely wide enough for them to move single file. Water rushed past their feet, carrying debris. The storm must have flooded the drainage system. Amara's breath came in gasps. The walls pressed in. The darkness was absolute. Where does this lead? She managed. Service exit on the north side. Comes out near the gardens. Eugen's voice was steady, but she could hear the strain. Keep moving. They crawled for what felt like an eternity. Amara's hands scraped on concrete. Her knees ached. The water was rising. It reached her shins. Then her thighs. Behind them she heard voices. Shouting. Footsteps. They're in the basement, Eugen said. Move faster. Amara pushed forward, panic clawing at her chest. The tunnel narrowed. She had to turn sideways to fit. The water was at her waist now. Cold. Filthy. Her flashlight beam caught something ahead. A grate. Rusted and ancient. Eugen reached past her and kicked it. Once. Twice. The grate gave way. They spilled out into a larger space. A storm drain. Water poured from above, a waterfall of rain and runoff. Eugen grabbed her hand and pulled her toward a ladder set into the wall. They climbed. Amara's muscles screamed. Her fingers slipped on the wet metal. Above she could see a faint glow. Moonlight through the storm clouds. They reached the top. A heavy metal cover blocked the exit. Eugen braced his shoulder against it and pushed. It didn't move. "Help me," he grunted. Amara added her weight. Together they shoved. The cover shifted. Moved. Finally gave way. They crawled out into the gardens. Rain hammered down. Lightning split the sky. Amara collapsed onto the wet grass, gasping. Eugen pulled her to her feet. "We can't stop. Not here." "Where do we go?" "Panic room. 3rd floor. If we can get there, we can hold out until the storm passes. Until help arrives." He scanned the gardens. Shadows moved near the house. "They're searching the perimeter. Stay low." They ran crouched across the manicured lawn. Amara's boots sank into mud. Her legs burned. They reached a side entrance. Eugen tried his code. The panel beeped red. Locked. He tried again. Same result. "James locked me out of my own house," he muttered. He smashed the panel with the butt of his gun. Wires sparked. The door clicked open. "After you." They slipped inside. A service corridor. Dimly lit. Empty. They moved quickly, quietly. At the end of the corridor was a staircase. Eugen started up. Amara followed, her hand gripping the railing. On the 2nd floor they heard voices. Men speaking in Korean. Heavy boots on marble. Eugen pulled her into an alcove. They pressed against the wall, barely breathing. 2 men walked past, both armed, both scanning the hallway with military precision. They didn't look into the alcove. They passed, their voices fading. "Mercenaries," Eugen whispered. "James hired professionals." "How many?" "At least 4. Maybe more." He looked at her. Really looked at her. "I'm sorry you're in this." "Not your fault." "It is. I built this empire. I made enemies. I trusted the wrong people. And now you're paying for my mistakes." Amara met his eyes. In the dim light, she saw something she hadn't expected. Guilt. Vulnerability. This man, this Ice King, was human. Broken. Just like her. "We're both paying," she said. "But we're still alive. Let's keep it that way." He nodded. They moved again up the stairs to the 3rd floor. The panic room was at the end of a long hallway. Eugen opened a hidden panel, entered a code. A section of the wall slid back, revealing a steel door. He pressed his palm to a scanner. The door unlocked with a hiss. Inside was a small room. Reinforced walls. Surveillance monitors. A cot. Shelves stocked with water and rations. Enough to last days. Eugen closed the door behind them. The locks engaged. For the first time in hours, the sound of the storm faded. Amara sank onto the cot, her entire body shaking. Eugen moved to the monitors, started flipping through camera feeds. The mansion's interior. The gardens. The driveway. On one screen, she saw the mercenaries regrouping in the foyer. On another, James Han himself standing in the study talking on a phone. "Can you hear what he's saying?" Amara asked. Eugen turned up the audio. James's voice filled the room. "No, they're not dead yet. They're hiding somewhere in the house. Don't worry. They can't get out. By morning this will be over." A pause. "Yes, the girl too. No witnesses. Morrison understands the terms." Amar felt sick. Eugen muted the audio. He turned to face her, his expression unreadable. "I need to know something." "What?" "Why are you helping me? You could have run. Could have hidden. Could have waited this out alone." "And then what?" "James's men find me and kill me anyway? At least with you I have a chance." She paused. "And maybe because you're the first person in 3 years who didn't treat me like a transaction." Eugen was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Tell me about your brother." The question caught her off guard. "Why?" "Because if we died tonight, I want to know what we're dying for." Amara swallowed hard. "His name is Marcus. He's 20. Brilliant. Kind. Everything our parents hoped for. They died in a car accident 5 years ago. Drunk driver. I was supposed to be in the car with them, but I stayed late at school. Marcus was at soccer practice. We were the lucky ones. Lucky, Eugen repeated, the word bitter. The insurance money ran out fast. Medical bills. Funeral costs. I dropped out of college to work. Marcus got a full ride to med school, but Seoul is expensive. I took the loan from Derek to cover his living expenses. I thought I could pay it off in a year. She laughed hollow. I was so stupid. You were desperate. There's a difference. Is there? She looked at him. You said your father died in debt. What happened? Eugen leaned against the wall. I was 16. My father was a good man. Too good. He borrowed money to keep his business afloat during the financial crisis. The lenders promised reasonable terms. They lied. When he couldn't pay, they took everything. The business. The house. His dignity. He had a heart attack 3 months later. I found him on the kitchen floor. I'm sorry. I swore I'd never be vulnerable like that again. I built this empire so no one could ever take from me. And now here I am. Trapped in my own fortress. Betrayed by my closest friend. About to lose everything anyway. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Turns out you can't build walls high enough to keep out the people already inside. Amara stood and moved to the monitors. On one screen, the mercenaries were methodically searching rooms. On another, James was pouring himself a drink in the study, calm and unhurried. He's not even worried, she said. Why would he be? He holds all the cards. Does he? She turned to Eugen. You said Choi kept backups. Physical backups. Not just digital. Eugen frowned. Yes. Hard drives. Locked in his office safe. Where's his office? Second floor. East wing. And James doesn't know about the physical backups? He might. But accessing the safe requires a code and a fingerprint. Choi's fingerprint. Amara's stomach turned. Which you can get from his body. Eugen stared at her. You're suggesting we go back out there, while James's men are hunting us, to retrieve a dead man's fingerprint. You have a better idea? Actually, no. He looked at the monitors again. The mercenaries were on the first floor now. The second floor was temporarily clear. It's insane. So is staying here and hoping for rescue. Eugen studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. All right. But we move fast. In and out. No heroics. Agreed. He opened the panic room door. The hallway was empty. They moved quickly, silently. The mansion felt like a tomb. Every shadow was a threat. Every sound was amplified. They reached the staircase and descended to the second floor. Choi's office was at the end of a hallway lined with abstract paintings. The door was locked. Eugen picked it with a small tool from his pocket. Inside, the office was pristine. A desk. A filing cabinet. A safe embedded in the wall behind a painting of a mountain range. Stay here, Eugen said. Watch the door. He left. Amara stood in the doorway, heart pounding, gun in hand. She heard him moving through the house. Heard a door open. Heard the rain outside. Minutes passed. Then footsteps. Eugen returned, his face grim. He was carrying a small plastic bag. Inside was a severed finger. Amara's stomach lurched. Oh my God. I didn't have time to be gentle. He moved to the safe, entered a code, then pressed the finger to the scanner. The safe beeped. Clicked. Opened. Inside were 3 hard drives and a leather journal. Eugen grabbed them all. A shout echoed from downstairs. They'd been seen. Footsteps pounded toward them. Eugen grabbed Amara's hand. Run. They sprinted down the hallway. Behind them, voices yelled in Korean. A gunshot rang out. The wall beside Amara's head exploded in a shower of plaster. She ducked, kept running. Eugen pulled her into a room. A bedroom. Massive bed. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the gardens. He locked the door. It wouldn't hold long. He ran to the window, tried to open it. Sealed. He smashed it with the butt of his gun. Glass shattered. Rain poured in. Can you climb? What? There's a trellis. It leads to the roof. From there we can reach the observatory. Another panic room. The door shuttered. Someone was kicking it. Amara looked at the trellis. It was old. Wooden. Probably rotten. You're insane. Probably. He climbed out onto the ledge. Extended his hand. Trust me. Amara took his hand. The door burst open. Men poured in. She climbed out the window, rain lashing her face. The trellis groaned under their weight. They climbed. Fast. Desperate. Below, the mercenaries leaned out the window, aiming. Gunfire cracked. Bullets splintered wood. They reached the roof. Pulled themselves over the edge. Collapsed onto the slick tiles. Amara's lungs burned. Eugen grabbed her arm. Keep moving. They ran across the roof, slipping, sliding. The observatory was a glass dome at the mansion's peak. Eugen opened a hatch and they dropped inside. He sealed it behind them. Locked it. The dome was small. Transparent. They could see the storm raging around them. The city lights below. The men on the roof circling. This is a trap, Amara gasped. We're surrounded. No. We're elevated. They can't reach us without exposing themselves. And look. He pointed to a control panel. This room has its own communication system. Satellite link. Independent power. He started typing. I can access the outside world from here. Amara slumped against the glass. Outside, lightning split the sky. Thunder shook the dome. The mercenaries were trying to force the hatch. It held. For now. Eugen pulled up a screen. Started uploading the files from the hard drives. This will take a few minutes. The connection is slow in the storm. Do we have a few minutes? We'd better. He glanced at her. You've been through hell tonight. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing. We're not dead yet. He smiled. A real smile this time. Small. Fragile. You're tougher than you look. I've had practice. The upload bar crept forward. 50%. 60. The hatch groaned. The mercenaries were using something to pry it open. Metal screeched against metal. Eugen, Amara said. If we don't make it, we will. But if we don't, tell Marcus I'm sorry. Tell him I tried. Eugen looked at her. You tell him yourself. 70%. 80. The hatch buckled. Hands reached through the gap. Amara raised her gun. Eugen put a hand on her arm. Wait. 90%. The hatch burst open. A man dropped inside. Eugen shot him. He fell. Another came. Amara fired. Missed. Eugen shot him too. The upload bar hit 100%. Done, Eugen said. It's sent. Everything. To the police. The media. The board. It's over. James Hahn's voice crackled over the observatory's intercom. You're very persistent, I'll give you that. But it doesn't matter. Those files won't reach anyone. I have people in every department, every news outlet, every agency that matters. You're shouting into the void. Eugen leaned toward the microphone. Maybe. But you made one mistake, James. What's that? You assumed I'd play by the rules. I didn't just send the files to the authorities. I sent them to everyone. Every contact in my phone. Every journalist who's ever written about me. Every rival company that wants to see you burn. By morning this will be everywhere. And you'll be finished. Silence. Then James's voice, tight with rage. You're bluffing. Am I? Check your phone. Check the internet. It's already trending. Another silence. Longer this time. Then James spoke again, his voice cold and final. Then you've signed your own death warrant. If I go down, you go down with me. I'm already down. But at least I'm taking you with me. Eugen cut the connection. Amara stared at him. You really sent everything? Everything. He leaned against the glass, exhausted. James was right about one thing. I'll probably lose the company. The board will force me out. I'll be investigated. Prosecuted, maybe. But he won't win. And Morrison won't hurt your brother. How do you know? Because I didn't just send the files. I sent wire transfers. Every dollar Morrison extorted from you and 100 others like you. Returned. With interest. Your debt is gone. Your brother is safe. And Morrison is going to prison. Amara's throat closed. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. You saved my life tonight. Let me save yours. She didn't know what to say. Didn't trust her voice. So she just nodded. Outside, the storm was beginning to ease. The rain slowed. The wind died down. On the roof, the mercenaries were retreating. Sirens wailed in the distance. The police, Amara said. Or James's people. Hard to tell. Eugen checked the monitors. On the screens they could see James in the study, pacing, phone to his ear. He looked panicked. Desperate. He's losing control. The observatory door burst open. Not the hatch. The main door. Amara spun around, gun raised. But it wasn't a mercenary. It was James himself. He looked wild. Disheveled. A gun in his hand. You ruined everything, he snarled. Everything I built. Everything I planned. Eugen stepped in front of Amara. You built nothing, James. You stole. You betrayed. You killed. I did what was necessary. You were too weak. Too sentimental. You would have run this company into the ground. So you decided to run it into the ground yourself? Smart. James raised his gun. Shut up. Just shut up. I should have killed you years ago. Then why didn't you? Because I needed you. I needed your name. Your reputation. But now? Now you're worthless. He aimed at Eugen's chest. Goodbye, brother. Amara moved without thinking. She stepped between them. If you kill him, you'll have to kill me too. James sneered. That was always the plan, sweetheart. Then do it. But the files are already out. Killing us won't change that. You've already lost. Maybe. But at least I'll have the satisfaction of watching you both die. A gunshot rang out. Amara flinched. But the bullet didn't hit her. It hit James. He staggered, looked down at the red stain spreading across his chest. Behind him stood a man in a police uniform. The officer lowered his weapon. Drop the gun, the officer said in accented English. James collapsed. The officer kicked the gun away and spoke into his radio. More police poured into the observatory. Paramedics. Investigators. The chaos was overwhelming. Eugen pulled Amara close. It's over. She leaned into him, trembling. Is he dead? I don't know. Does it matter? No. I guess not. They were separated. Questioned. Amara sat in the back of an ambulance, a blanket around her shoulders, answering the same questions over and over. Yes, she'd been sent to the mansion. No, she didn't know it was a setup. Yes, she'd witnessed Director Choi's body. Yes, she'd helped Kang Eugen retrieve the evidence. Hours passed. The storm cleared. Dawn broke over Seoul, pale and cold. Amara was finally allowed to leave. She walked out of the mansion, her legs shaky, her mind numb. Car was waiting. Not a police car. A black sedan. The window rolled down. Eugen sat inside, bandaged but alive. Need a ride? He asked. She climbed in. The driver pulled away from the mansion. Amara looked back once. The place looked different in daylight. Smaller. Less terrifying. Just a house. What happens now? She asked. James is in surgery. The police think he'll survive to stand trial. Derek Morrison was arrested an hour ago. The files you helped me recover are being used as evidence. The board is meeting today to decide my fate. Will they fire you? Probably. But I don't care. I have enough money to last 10 lifetimes. I'll rebuild. Do something different. Something that doesn't involve watching my back every second. What about me? He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. This is for you. She opened it. Inside was a check. The amount made her gasp. I can't accept this. It's not charity. It's payment. You risked your life. You helped me expose a traitor. You saved my company even if I lose control of it. You earned every cent. Eugen. And there's more. He pulled out a second envelope. Your brother's tuition. Paid in full through graduation. Living expenses included. He'll never have to worry about money again. Amara's vision blurred. Why are you doing this? Because someone should have done it for me. When my father died. When I was alone and desperate. Someone should have helped. No one did. I won't make that mistake. She wiped her eyes. Thank you. Thank you. For not running. For trusting me. For being brave when I couldn't be. The car stopped outside her apartment building. Amara looked at the crumbling facade. The graffiti, the broken streetlight. It looked different now too. Like a place she was passing through. Not a prison. I'll see you again, Eugen said. It wasn't a question. You think so? I know so. You're not someone people forget. She smiled. Neither are you. She climbed out of the car. Walked into her building. Climbed the stairs to her apartment. Inside, everything was exactly as she'd left it. The mattress on the floor. The ramen cups. The photograph on the windowsill. But everything felt different. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Sis, you okay? You didn't answer last night. Call me when you can. She typed back. I'm fine. Better than fine. I'll explain everything. Love you. Then she sat on the mattress and let herself cry. Not from fear. Not from grief. From relief. From hope. From the strange, dizzying realization that she was free. 3 months later, Amara stood in the lobby of a gleaming office building in Gangnam. She wore a tailored suit. Her hair was pulled back. She looked like she belonged. The receptionist smiled. Miss Williams. Mr. Kang is expecting you. She took the elevator to the top floor. The doors opened onto a modern office space. Clean lines. Floor-to-ceiling windows. A view of the city that took her breath away. Eugen stood by the window, hands in his pockets. He turned when she entered. You came, he said. You asked. I did. I have a proposition. Another one? He smiled. I'm starting a new company. Security consulting. Ethical lending. Helping people who've been exploited by predators like Morrison. I need someone I can trust. Someone smart. Someone who's been through hell and came out stronger. You're offering me a job? I'm offering you a partnership. Equal stake. Equal say. We build this together. Amara looked around the office. At the view. At the man who'd become something more than a stranger in one terrible transformative night. And if I say yes? Then we change the world. Or at least our corner of it. She extended her hand. Deal. He shook it. His grip was warm. Steady. Familiar. Welcome aboard, partner. Outside, Seoul glittered in the afternoon sun. Somewhere in the city, Marcus was in class studying to save lives. Somewhere, Derek Morrison sat in a cell waiting for trial. Somewhere, James Hahn was doing the same. And here in this office, Amara Williams stood beside Kang Eugen and looked toward a future she'd never dared to imagine. She was forced to spend one night in a Korean trillionaire's mansion. By morning, she'd saved his life and her own. By the end of the year, she'd become his equal. And the story was only beginning.